Welcome back to another episode of Real Talking ELT. It's just me today. This episode I have dedicated to. This episode is going to be focusing on the needs analysis series, the whole kind of how to deal with people as they come in and new students and things like that. And so let's start at the very beginning. So we've got a new student. Yes. What do we do with them? Sell them the package immediately. No. Pay me. Oh, it would be fun if we could do that, but no, that's not going to happen. So the first thing that I think that we need to do is we need to figure out how we can do an assessment and almost a pre-assessment in terms of before they start classes, before we pitch them a course or a package of lessons or anything like that. We've got to get information from the person, because if you're working privately, do you hear the little bird? The little bird is so angry today. Anyways, I don't know why. It's super angry. It sits outside my kitchen. Like it's clearly well fed. It is very rotund, that small little bird. And it just is like it's not tweeting or singing. It's like, it's not honking either. I'll have to find a description of that. That angry little sound it makes. Anyways, okay, back to students. So we need to do sort of like a pre-assessment questionnaire type of thing. The reason that I suggest this is because, one, if you're dealing with private students, it's really important that you understand what they're actually looking for so that you can put together a proposal to them that is going to be interesting. Because if you're working privately, first of all, you should be charging more. If you're not charging more, then I would recommend reassessing, but you should be charging more, because if you're offering private classes, usually private classes should be more personalized. I don't think that private teachers should follow I'm just going to say it. I don't think private teachers should follow course books. I don't think they should follow planned classes. I think that you should have all of those resources available. But if you're a private teacher, the expectation from students is that something is going to be personalized. Something is going to help, unless they tell you that they want a more traditional pathway and a more traditional course. Like, you should be doing something more to justify the payment that you receive as a private teacher. Like, it just, for me, that's in my brain. You can disagree with me if you want. That's fine. So, when I dealt with private students, I mean, I have a few still lingering, but I don't have many because the school occupies a lot of my time. But when I did, and when I still do have my private students, I developed kind of a questionnaire to gather information about a few things. Language proficiency, the industry that they work in, their current professional role, specific language needs of that current professional role, future role that they might have, language needs for that future role that they have. I ask about the effectiveness of previous courses. I ask about the dynamic of previous courses, what they liked, what they didn't like. I ask about personal things, not super personal, obviously, but I ask about personal things like, what are your hobbies? What's your living situation? I don't ask about where do you live? I'm like, oh, okay. So I am interested in knowing, are you single or are you married? Are you dating someone? Do you have children? Why? Because all of those factors play into what type of course I can develop. I'll give you the perfect example. A young single person in their early 20s, living on their own, dedicated to work because they're establishing their career. Highly motivated, probably going to have a little bit more time to dedicate to studies than a person 35 to 45 years old, married with 2 kids. It's just calculations here. I'm not making judgments about anybody. They could be highly motivated too, but they also have other obligations because they're married, they have kids. Unless they're running away from that situation, they're going to have to help with the kids, making dinner, bringing them to school, doing like the extracurricular activities. Like, this is the real world. Like that, it is what it is. So I do ask personal questions, like, tell me a little bit about yourself. Like, what's your personal life like? Do you have hobbies? What's your general routine? Like, do you go to the gym? Do you participate in other activities? Like, I don't know, do you take music classes? Do you do dance classes? You know what I mean? Like those types of things. Why? This also helps me understand if the person needs to reschedule frequently. Do they travel with work? Do you travel with your family? Like, what do you do? It helps understand, do they need to reschedule their classes frequently? If they do need to reschedule their classes, how flexible is their timetable? Because based on, the information that they give, they might not be that flexible. So then what's going to happen? If I offer them a package and I say, okay, you have a fixed time, Mondays at 6:30 p.m., and then every 2 weeks or 3 weeks, they're traveling or something like that, but they travel for the whole week. And then they don't want to have classes on Saturday because they're flying back on Saturday. They need to spend time with the family. And I'm not working on Sunday. Do you see? Like, you have to get information about people. It's just, you have to do it. So I never tell people that I get like immediately. It's never like, this is how much how much I charge, and this is the number of classes. Like, I never do that. I tell them how much I charge initially because it's just a good screen. This is how much my private classes cost per hour. That's it. Can you negotiate the price? No. This is the cost of my private classes per hour. If you want to have classes with me, like, that's the cost of it. If you want to negotiate your price, you can. That's strictly up to you. I don't negotiate my price. It is what it is. Thank you very much. If it's not in your budget, it's not in your budget. Like, I know a bunch of other people. I'll send you. Do you want recommendations for other private teachers? And you can go and ask them for what their prices are and see what works for you. Do you need recommendations for schools? That's also fine. I don't tend to negotiate, but if you want to, that's your business. But then also they say, well, how does it work? What's your methodology? First of all, I don't discuss methodology with students. Are your students teachers? Do they understand what the methodology is? Like, do they get that? No. When they ask you what's your methodology and things like that, this is why I do the pre-assessment, like pre-student questionnaire type of thing. They don't understand what methodology is. They don't, because that's not their job. That's your job. But that's not their job. They don't need to understand the intricacies of what does it mean to use one method or approach or another, and how does that impact the techniques and the activities that you have in class. Not their job. That's your job. What I do ask them about is the experiences that they've had in classrooms, or the expectations that they have in classrooms in terms of the dynamics, what they like to do in terms of would you prefer to write? Would you prefer to type? How do you want to do things? How do they want the classroom experience to feel? Then I can change techniques and methodologies and things like that based on what they prefer and what they are asking for to make them more comfortable. But I don't discuss methodologies with students. It's a waste of time. Agree or disagree with me, that's fine. It's just, for me, it's a waste of time. I don't have time for that. So I say, here's how they always ask me, how much do you give classes and how much are they? Right now, my answer is no. In the past, yes, I do. Here's how much I charge per hour. Immediate screen, because then if people can't pay you what you're asking for per hour, then you can negotiate if you want to, or you don't have to. It's up to you. Next. What's your methodology? Always that. What type of materials? What type of this and that? I say, well, the materials are variable. I don't use all the same things. I have my own stuff. I create my own things. It depends on what the person wants. And they say, okay, but how much? Calm down. And then I send them to a Google form. Fill this out for me. Fill this out for me because this is the basic information that I need. all of the things that I just talked about. I'm not going to go back over them. All the things I just talked about. I figure out an easy way. Time schedules, when you're available, previous learning experiences, all that stuff. Put into a Google form. That's the basic information that I need to know if I can offer a solution for you or not. And then they go and fill it out. And then based on those results, I'll say, let's have a 30-minute conversation, because I want to understand a little bit more about this and to see if it's something that I can actually, because in reality, I'm not teaching everyone, and I don't think you should either. You should teach the people that you're confident that you're going to be able to give them some sort of progress, because you have experience, because they're looking for something that is right up your alley, something that you've done before, something that maybe you haven't done before, and it's something you want to get into. But it should be a fit for you too. Like, I got to a point in my career, maybe you don't have the luxury of doing this. I know in the beginning, I wasn't able to. So I had to take all general English students, teenagers, adults, and things like that. And then I eventually got to a point in my career where I was able to say, I take adults who want to study business English, who are at least B1 and above. And I was able to specialize and niche down extreme niche. Like, that's it. Business English, adults, B1 and above. Those are my students, my private students. I didn't teach anybody else. I didn't accept new students from everyone else. But that took 2 to 3 years to be able to do that. In the meantime, I had to teach other classes. And then, so you can get more selective as you have your client base built up and everything else. But before you do, you still need to establish these types of good routines, right? And a good routine for me was to have this kind of Google form set up. People filled it out. They told me what they wanted. They told me a little bit of their experience, and I would decide if it's something that I was willing to take on or not. Because there's nothing more frustrating with a student that has expectations completely different than yours. So that's my rant for today. Put something together that you can send to students. You can collect the information beforehand, and then you can actually prepare something for them that you think is going to be meaningful and effective, and that they're going to have progress. That information will help you a lot. I have to go. She's barking. Talk to you all soon. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Real Talk and ELT. Want to join the conversation? Head on over to Instagram at Kelly Pettington ELT and send me a message. Be sure to subscribe to my YouTube or Spotify channel to stay up to date, and of course, take care of yourself, your health, your vibe, and your tribe. Until next time.